Huda, a light in every home.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والعاقبة للمتقين، ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأولين والآخرين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Brothers and sisters, welcome to another edition of your program Ask Huda. The phone numbers are as usual, area code 002023855, 248 or 249. The email address is ask@huda.tv. We'll be more than happy to start receiving your phone calls and concerns as soon as you call in, inshallah. The first question we have today, inshallah, from your valuable email questions is from Benish Abbasi. She asked about a situation of divorce happened between her and her husband. She says, my husband divorced me over the phone. So this is a mas'ala. The divorce took place over the phone. Then several days later he called me and divorced me again. That's another mas'ala. But it will be relying on the answer of the first mas'ala. Then several days after he called me and divorced me again. Does this count as 3 divorced or 1? The first mas'ala, does divorce over the phone or uttering the term of divorce over the phone count? Is it rendered as effective or not? Yes, it is. As long as the person who has the power of divorce said it to the wife or to her guardian or to anybody else to convey this message to her, then divorce is rendered effective. She said he divorced her once, and we agreed that the divorce is effective and it counts. Then a few days he divorced her once again, same like the first case. Then a few days later he divorced her for the 3rd time. Then this divorce is known as talaqun ba'in. Ba'in means this is irrevocable divorce. He does not have any power to recover this marriage once again, even if they both agree. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الطلاق مرتان فإمساك بمعروف أو تسريح بإحسان. The divorce, which is raj'i, revocable or reversible, where the person has the right to return his wife to his marriage life within the iddah, the waiting period after he uttered the word of divorce, is only twice. Then فإن طلقها, if he divorces her after the 2nd time, فلا تحل له من بعد حتى تنكح زوجا غيره. Then it will not be permissible for him to marry her, nor for her to live with him, unless if she marries somebody else, that is after her iddah is over, a complete and a valid marriage, with the intention of getting married, not with the intention of legitimizing the first husband to marry her or to remarry her once again, or in this case, this is a condition in which the Prophet ﷺ cursed all the parties who will be involved in it. If a person just marries a woman with the intention of divorcing her, so that she will be permissible for her ex-husband who divorced her 3 times to remarry her once again. This is known as al-muhallal or al-muhallil, and both are cursed by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The wisdom behind giving divorce in Islam over intervals and giving the iddah is to think about it, is to allow yourself to take a chance to review your decision. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala judged that the divorced woman should not leave her husband's house, even though she's divorced. الطلاق الرجعي, the first and the second. She must stay in the house during the iddah. Why? Then the scholars encourage her to adorn herself and dress up nicely. Why? Because in order to project her beauty and the merits and the privileges that maybe the husband was not paying attention to, in an attempt to reconcile, not to break the marriage life. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Abdul Ra'uf from the KSA, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Ask Huda.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you doing, Sheikh?
I'm just fine, alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking.
Sheikh, one of my colleagues, he's a Filipino guy and he is an office boy. He's working in our company in Riyadh actually. And he's going on exit. Before he goes on exit, I just wanted to present to Islam to that Filipino boy.
He's going on what? I'm sorry?
He's a Filipino office boy. He's working in our company as an assistant.
Okay.
So he's going on exit. I wanted to present Islam to him. So what is the best way to present to before him?
You want to give da'wah to your colleague?
Yeah, I want to give da'wah to my colleague. He's going on final exit to his country.
Okay. طيب. Okay, inshallah I will answer you.
Yeah,
We've got Mahbub from United Arab Emirates. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, brother. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, and thank you for asking.
Welcome, brother. Brother, I have a question regarding ghusl. When we are performing ghusl, first ghusl to get rid of major impurity, and do we have to make our ablution again, or the ghusl will be more than enough for wuzu as well? Because one of the breaks wuzu is touching a private part in a bare hand, but during the ghusl we know that for cleaning purpose it can, like, the person may touch private part. So does it break the wuzu? And after the ghusl, do I need to make our ablution again?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mahbub. Wa jazakum. Barakallahu fikum. Brother Awal, at this time you're third, not Awal, from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum, Awal.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. How are you doing, Sheikh?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking, Awal.
Inshallah. You guys are doing a very good job. May Allah reward you with Jannah.
May Allah accept. May Allah accept and assist us to do better, inshallah.
Inshallah. My question is it possible for me in Islam to name my son my surname? For example, my surname is Sani. Instead of my son's name is Farik. Instead of him to be called Farik Awal, he should be called Farik Sani. Is it permissible? Because Sani is the family name.
Okay, I got your name.
Okay. That was the question.
Okay.
Thank you, Jazakallah.
Thank you. Barakallahu fikum. Thank you. Abdul Ra'uf is asking about how can he present Islam to his colleague who is about to leave work and going back to his country. Number one, thank you so for your concern. May Allah bless you for that. But I have just a soft reminder, which is, don't you think it's a little late? He said that he's been working with you, maybe for years. So this guy has been working with me for years. I see him day and night, or I see him on a daily basis. And just whenever he's ready to leave, I remember that. That is a reminder. But as far as the da'wah method to our colleagues, number one, you yourself should be a da'iyah through your behavior, through committing yourselves to practice the Islamic etiquette at work, being committed to coming on time, leaving on time, fulfilling your job properly, doing everything for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being well-mannered. You do not utter a word but what's good. You do not get involved in any vain conversation, so that people would really realize that this guy is an honest person. This guy is a sincere person. This guy is a modest person. Why? It must be because of his deen and religious commitment. Look at him. Whenever it is a prayer time, he pauses. he stops everything, then he rushes to offer the prayer. And he does not do like others. Others seize this opportunity to sneak out for an hour or two, and where are you? Oh, I was praying. No, they do not do like that. This person is different. This person goes, he barely makes wudu and pray on time and just come back to resume work. He gives extra time to his work. So the best da'wah, whether you are a professor at the university, a camp director, an accountant, a doctor, a janitor, wherever you are, people are looking at you because you're different. People keep you under the spot. They supervise your performance. So if you're doing well, this is because of your religious commitment, and this is what you do, and this is what you say. Number two, if you are a person who's admired by your colleagues, people are most likely ready to receive your advices. So if you give him a gift, a book that speaks about the oneness of God or monotheism, or purchase or download a program or lectures, The Purpose of Life, Khalid Yassine, or any lecture for Yusuf Estes or others, and give it to him on an MP3. You give him a gift in a nice gift trap. This is a valuable MP3 player, or you can play it in your car. Meanwhile, you downloaded a few things for him so that he can listen to it going back and forth. The dawah materials are available in audio and video and printed materials in abundance. Speak very little, but your actions must speak louder than your words. Then what about invitations? Inviting him to dinner, showing him the Islamic hospitality. I was once invited to somebody's house in Dubai, and he did not hesitate to invite the catering guys to listen to the lecture and know about Islam. And it was very lovely that, mashallah, by the end we've got about 4 people accepted Islam, alhamdulillah, shukrullah. So you have to be mentally oriented towards the art of giving da'wah and seizing every opportunity. You throw a party, have a barbecue party or a picnic. Make sure that you invite this person and his family members. You treat him nicely because this is what Islam teaches us. It is not something that you're pretending or you're not acting. You are being just yourself. So since we only have one last opportunity and he's leaving, then everybody, you guys, should throw a party for him, buy him some nice gifts, and amongst the gifts, a copy of the interpretation of the meaning of the Quran in his home, in his mother tongue, in his language. Along with that, some da'wah materials, and perhaps you can stay in touch with him either on a Facebook or Skype or whatever, and make this guy your project. Last but not the least, and it should be on the top of the list of the things that the da'iyah should do, is dua. Include him in your dua. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open his heart to accept the truth and to be rightly guided. Barakallah fikum. Mahbub from United Arab Emirates. He said, if I'm doing ghusl in order to remove the major impurity, al-janaba, would it be sufficient to pray with this ghusl, or am I required to perform wudu? Keep in mind that one of the acts which nullify and validates the wudu or the tahara is touching the private. So now he has 2 issues. The first issue, is it permissible to perform the salah just with the ghusl or not? In other words, is the ghusl sufficient in lifting the major impurity and the minor impurity as well, or do I have to perform wudu independently in order to be able to pray? The answer is, it all depends. If this ghusl was intended to lift the major impurity, then it should be sufficient. If somebody had an intimate relationship with his or her spouse and they are performing ghusl, then they are not required after ghusl to make wudu in order to be able to pray. Ghusl is sufficient. If somebody experienced wet dream, or a woman finished her menses and now she's taken ghusl in order to lift the major impurity, all of that is sufficient, and the ghusl will be sufficient, and the person will not be required to make an independent wudu. But if the ghusl was one of the ghusl which is may recommend it performing ghusl on Friday, Sunnatul Mu'akkada, an emphatic sunnah, on the Eid days, or just taking a shower to cool off or to clean up yourself, then the person must intend to make wudu independently, whether while you are taking the shower or after you finish. It doesn't make any difference. As far as the second segment of your question, which is, we all know that one should not touch his private, because if he or she does, then the wudu will be invalid. This is an issue which is disputed between the scholars. And we discussed it before based on two prophetic references. And we discussed it thoroughly before. And the conclusion is, if we have a reference that says do or you may do, and the other it says do not, then we give precedence to the manna or the hadr or the prevention to be in the safe side. So what happens is, if you are performing ghusl, you're not required to make wudu, since you already made it as amongst the sunan in the beginning, washing the hands and the private, then make wudu, then performing ghusl. And make sure you don't touch your private. Dry without touching your private with your hand. And if it happens, then according to the view which says that wudu will be required if you touch your private, then you will be required to perform another wudu. Not because the ghusl was not sufficient, but because you've done something which invalidated the wudu. I hope the answer is clear. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Safiya from Egypt. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Go ahead, sister, please.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, Ustaz.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, I have a question regarding qasr.
Yeah.
I'm in Egypt presently, but I did not have the intention of staying for more than a month.
Mm-hmm.
Since I came, I've been doing qasr. For how long do I continue doing qasr?
What was your intention initially? To stay for how many days?
For a month.
Okay. And you're staying in the same place, whether the hotel or the flat that you rented?
Yeah, I'm staying in a flat.
Okay. Then you should pray on full along with the nawafil. According to the vast majority of the Muslim jurists, more than 4 days the person will be required. If you intend initially to remain in one place more than 4 days, then you should pray on full from day 1. Okay? Barakallahu fiki. Brother Abdullah from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Sheikh.
How are you, Abdullah?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine, thank you.
Go ahead and present your question, please.
Okay, I have 2 questions. The first question is, I often observed some people during prayers, whenever the Imam recites Surah Tin, and he gets to the last verse where he says, Alaysa Allahu bi ahkamil hakimin.
Yeah.
Then such people will respond aloud and say, Ba'a wa nahnu ala zalika min ash-shahidin. So I just want to know, what is the truth of this statement in the Sunnah? Is it sunnatic to make such response when the Imam prays and recites Surah Tin?
Jazakallahu khairan, Abdullah. Your brother Yasser from Kuwait. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. My name is Yasser, calling from Kuwait. I have I'm working in a company where they are providing the medical insurance for me and for my family. Can I use this insurance?
It is provided by the company. You're not purchasing any commercial insurance, right?
It's not an insurance. It's not a life insurance. It is medical treatment. They're paying for all my medical treatments.
I heard that. My point is, this is not an insurance policy that you purchased from a commercial company or a commercial insurance company. This is something that the company is providing for you as a package. The company that you're working for. Right. Yes, you can use this insurance, and there's no problem, there's no blame on you. You can use this insurance since you did not purchase it on your own, and it's not an independent contract. It's something that the company is covering its employees. Okay, barakallah fi. Before I forget, we had Awal from Nigeria. His question is kind of interesting if you were to know the meaning of his name and his father's name. Brother Awal's name is Awal, which means first, and his father's name is Thani, which means second in Arabic, yani. So he says, is it permissible to name my son, to say for instance Faris Thani instead of Faris Awal? As long as you're not eliminating the name entirely, your name or the father's name, and you're not causing any confusion by attributing or ascribing a child to somebody else other than his father, then there is no problem. ادعوهم لآبائهم هو أقسط عند الله. The ayah of Surah Al-Ahzab, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala banned naming any person or giving the last name of any person, giving any different last name to him other than his real father's name. ادعوهم لآبائهم. Ascribe them to their real fathers. To the real fathers. And that's why we say the Western traditions, when a woman gets married and she automatically neglects her father's name, the one who is the reason behind her existence, then she bears the name of her husband and the last name of her husband. Not Mrs. So-and-so, no, she gets her name changed in the ID, in the passport, and all of that. And guess what? If she's divorced, she goes back to her father's name. And if she gets married, so what kind of women freedom or rights that the West is giving women if she does not have any independence, if she is deprived from bearing her father's name? Of course, it's a matter of, to certain people, to certain women, as a pride or showing off that I'm married, I'm Mrs. So-and-so. La. In Islam, every person must be ascribed to their real fathers. وَادْعُوهُمْ لِآبَائِهِمْ. This is the just way which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala approves. So if everybody knows that your son Faris, he's the son of Awal, and when we write the full name, we write Faris Awal Thani, as you just said, then people normally call him Faris Thani or call him after his family name. There's no problem in that. This is not included in the prohibition which is mentioned in Surah Al-Ahzab. Thank you so much. Abdullah from Nigeria asked about whenever the Imam recites Surah Al-Teen, and by the end, the last verse is أَلَيْسَ اللَّهُ بِأَحْكَمِ الْحَاكِمِينَ. This is, it is not a rhetorical question, rather it is a declarative question, an affirmative question, a question which the answer is certainly known. Yes, of course. And it is reported in some of the athar that it is recommended to say upon hearing or reciting the ayah is to respond, to communicate with the ayat, similar to the last verse of Surah Al-Qiyamah, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala proves logically that there will be life after death, and the one who created the very first creation is definitely able to revive it in the same form and shape. And he says, أَلَيْسَ ذَلِكَ بِقَادِرٍ عَلَىٰ أَن يُحْيِيَ الْمَوْتَى. Isn't the one who does all of that is able to revive the dead? It's a declarative question. Yes, the answer is yes. So some of the scholars said it is recommended. If it is in the nafil prayer, yes, it's definitely recommended. Some scholars restricted only to the nafil prayer and advise not to say it in the fard, or not to recite anything other than the recitation of the Quran. But in general, yes, it is recommended to say, whether in the salah or outside the salah, to react with the Quran. So this is a question. أَلَيْسَ ذَلِكَ بِقَادِرٍ عَلَىٰ أَن يُحْيِيَ الْمَوْتَى. بَلَى قَادِرٍ. أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين? Isn't Allah is the best of all judges? Yes, indeed. أليس الله بكاف عبده? Yes, indeed. Isn't Allah sufficient for His servant? And so on. جزاكم الله خيرا. Fatima from Pakistan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tell me you're calling from Pakistan.
Yes, yes.
Which part? Islamabad, Karachi?
Sorry?
Which part of Pakistan?
Rawalpindi.
Okay. Barakallah feekum. Push it, please.
Jazakallah khair wa kaseer fi dunya wal akhirah. I have a question. I want to know whether a mother would recognize her children on the day of judgment, or anyone, all of us, will we recognize each other?
Okay. There is a verse in this regard. There is a verse in this regard. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَاتَّبَعَتْهُمْ ذُرِّيَّتُهُمْ. The ayah says, as for those who have believed and their offspring followed them with regards to Iman, بإيمان ألحقنا بهم ذريتهم, we will make their offspring join them, and we will not diminish any of the reward. We have a situation here. Will the believers get to recognize each other? Yes. Will family members will have reunion on the day of judgment in heaven? Yes. But the tricky question is, what if somebody was so righteous and somebody was half and half? He barely made it to heaven. And we discussed before that Al-Jannah is not just one floor. No, it's levels. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the highest place in heaven, which is Al-Firdaus Al-A'la, where we can get to see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam day and night, his companions and the rest of the prophets and messengers. So what happens when some people are up and their family members are down? Will there be a downgrade if I want to see my children? Do I have to go down to them? No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلْحَقَنَا بِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ. We'll make their family members join them. So they will be upgraded. You just make me feel very emotional when you ask about that in heaven or on the day of judgment, will we recognize our children? Yes, inshallah we will recognize them. And this is our main concern. Not just to be saved, to make sure that our family members are along with us in heaven, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة. O you who believe, protect yourselves and your family members. أهليكم, again, is the fire of hell, the fuel of which is people and stones. May Allah protect us. And basically, this is why we get married. And this is why we have children. And the true relationship is not the blood relationship. It comes second. The true relationship is the relationship of the deen. What is the proof to that? The proof is from the Quran. When Nuh alayhi salam begged Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save his son, قال نوح الرب إن ابني من أهلي وإن وعدك الحق. He's my son. He's one of my family members. The innocent reply came down from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, قال يا نوح إنه ليس من أهلك. He's not one of your family members. Yes, maybe one day he was your son, your biological son, and so on, a legitimate son. But because of his disbelief, there is no relationship, there is no nasab, there is no lineage anymore. إنه عمل غير صالح, because he is not a righteous deed, or he did not do the righteous deeds. So the only relationship which will make us recognize each other, love one another, is the religious commitment, staying steadfast on the deen. Otherwise, we all know, as we studied before in the ayat, يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَبَنِيهِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا ثُمَّ يُنْجِي. People would run away, will disown their closest family members and deny all their blood ties. Why? Everybody will say, Nafsi, Nafsi. Let's take a short break, and inshallah I'll be back in a couple of minutes, so stay tuned.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose whom He wills subhanahu wa ta'ala for His mercy, for His messengership, for the revelation to be revealed. This is not for the human beings to make that decision. If a person would turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, truthfully, asking for forgiveness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised to forgive. We have as Muslims a duty, and that is to recite the book of Allah, to ponder over the verses, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to act according to the Quran. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encompasses everything, but who would this mercy will be for? And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent to all mankind. So the ummah, or the people of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, are all mankind since the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam till the day of judgment. Why waste our life without getting to know every verse in the Quran, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us?
The Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, narrated that when Allah, glory be to him, wishes good for someone, He bestows upon him understanding of the religion, and that Allah makes the path to paradise easy for those who seek knowledge. Preoccupied by work or family in the modern world, a Muslim may struggle to find time for acquiring Islamic knowledge. To ease this struggle, we are launching Huda Academy to be your gateway to online Islamic e-learning.
Enroll now and study from our renowned scholars. Learn Aqidah from Dr. Muhammad Salah.
Learn Fiqh from Dr. Hatim Al-Hajj.
Learn Hadith from Dr. Muhammad Saeed.
Learn Tafsir from Sheikh Ibrahim Zidan.
And learn Arabic from our professional instructors.
Successful graduates of Huda Academy will go through a final test and eventually receive a certificate of completion.
To enroll and learn more about Huda Academy, please visit us online at hudaonlineacademy.com.
Huda Academy, your gateway to authentic Islamic knowledge.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. We have a very important question. It's from Razina from India. Razina asked about fasting on the recommended days of the 3 white days of every month, 13th, 14th, and 15th. Then of every lunar month, of course. She says, can I have dual intentions for these days to also count as my days that I missed during Ramadan? So I'm making qaza. Meanwhile, I'm fasting the recommended fasting. This is an issue which has been discussed thoroughly between the scholars from the very first till now, pertaining a mas'ala which is known as at-tashriku fi niyyah, the overlapping of the ibadat, or combining more than one act of worship, more than one physical worship, with the same intention. For instance, can I pray 2 rak'ahs of sunnah, the emphatic sunnah? Meanwhile, it counts as the greeting of the masjid, or the 2 rak'ahs of Eid, meanwhile, because I did not get to pray subh, would be both are okay, the same? We'll find out. At-tashriku fi niyyah, or combining 2 ibadat in one intention, depends. So there are some cases where you may do that, and some cases. If we have two ibadat, one which is intended for itself, because it's either fard or nafl, or another one, and the other one is intended for a specific reason, such as a place. Give the example of the greeting of the masjid. Tahiyatul masjid is intended why? It does not have a specific time, but it is because of the place. Whenever you enter a masjid, you should offer the greeting of the masjid. Well, what if I enter the masjid and it's already adhan time, I heard the adhan, will I get to pray tahiyatul masjid or get to pray the emphatic sunnah before dhuhr, for instance, or before fajr? As a matter of fact, by praying the emphatic sunnah or before fajr or before dhuhr or any sunnah before any prayer, it is sufficient, and that will waive the requirement of offering independent 2 rak'ahs for tahiyatul masjid. Another example where it's permissible to combine two things in one. The Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith in Sahih Imam al-Bukhari, غُسْلُ الْجُمُعَةِ وَاجِبٌ عَلَى كُلِّ مُحْتَلِمٍ. It's a must for every adult to perform ghusl on Friday, obviously before going to the Friday prayer, so that you will look nice, smell nice, and so on. The scholars understood from that it is an emphatic sunnah, not a fard. It is highly recommended for every person who's going to Friday prayer to make ghusl. Great. What if somebody just had an intimate relationship with his spouse and he's due to perform ghusl, and that was after Fajr? Does he have to take another ghusl for Friday? No, this one is sufficient because the mission is accomplished. The purpose is to smell good, to appear good, to remove any impurities. And that was accomplished via performing ghuslul janaba. The wudu, as I discussed in the first question when one of the brothers, Brother Mahbub, I believe, Brother Mahbub from United Arab Emirates, asked this question. So the ghusl will be sufficient. But I have a fard and I have a sunnah. Can I combine them together because they have the same physical mechanism with one intention? Can I fast on Monday and on Thursday and I intend this is the sunnah because the Prophet ﷺ used to fast, and meanwhile I'm fasting because I'm fulfilling a vow or I'm making up the missed days during Ramadan? Here we say no, you cannot combine the two intentions. But if you are a person who normally fasts on these days, or if you happen to make up those missed days during Mondays and Thursdays, the 3 white days, or during Ashura or during Arafah, you get the reward of your intention of making up the fard or the mandatory nadhr. Fine, done. Meanwhile, you will receive the barakah of the coincidence of happening that fasting on such blessed days. But you cannot have these two intentions, two in one, because each ibadah is independent. You cannot have this overlapping in the intentions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Which also means, with regards to the 6 white days, the 6 days of Shawwal. The 6 days of Shawwal. No one can say, I am making up the missed days of Ramadan, meanwhile, these are my 6 days of Shawwal. It's either one of the two. Assalamu alaikum, Faiza. Sister Faiza, please try again. Riyadh from Oman. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh, how are you?
I'm just fine, alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking, Riyadh.
Sheikh, I would like to know about the slavery system during Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam time, how it was abolished and why.
Yeah, I'd like to rephrase the question, or to prioritize the question by saying that how did Islam eliminate slavery from the Muslim community? or from the world community at large, because slavery was known throughout the ages. During the time of Prophet Moses, Jesus, Abraham, and all of that, we all know that. But Islam was the first to establish the foundation of eliminating slavery. And this is a very lengthy subject. I can tell you briefly, number one, that through the kafarat, the ransoms, if somebody said to his wife, for instance, you are to me like my mother, so he cannot embrace her unless if he offers the kafara, which is freeing a slave neck. For killing, the killing, the accidental killing, the kafara, also freeing a slave neck. There are many kafarat in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires the kafara of the oath. If one fails to fulfill his oath, freeing a slave neck. Freeing a slave was required for many ransoms, which encouraged the community to get rid of the sin of not committing themselves to what Allah mandated or ordered, or to remove a violation that they have committed by freeing a slave neck. Furthermore, the Prophet ﷺ made it clear that if a master slaps his son, then the kafara is to set him free, as it happened with the slave girl whom the Prophet ﷺ said, أعتقها فإنها مؤمنة. Add to that, under Islamic ruling, Islam teaches, and initially it was in the past, it taught the masters who owned slaves to treat them like their own brothers. The Prophet ﷺ said, إخوانكم خوالكم. And this is one of the most eloquent speeches ever, because we normally know that the subject comes first, then the direct object. But in Arabic, in eloquent Arabic, when you give precedence to the direct object and you put it before the subject, that indicates that both are the same, on the same level. So when he says your servants are not but your brothers, which means they are really like your brothers. You should not treat them as inferior to you. So if Allah has appointed any of you as a master over one of his brothers, look at the servants, at the slaves, at that time. فَلْيُطْعِمْهُ مِمَّا يَأْكُلْ مِمَّا يَطْعَمْ. Let him feed him from whatever you eat. And you clothe him from whatever you wear. And that's why when Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, one of the companions, met him at a place called Al-Rabada, outside the outskirts of Al-Madinah, he noticed a very interesting thing. Abu Dharr was wearing an outfit, and he gave his servant or his slave one similar to it. It was basically one single outfit, so he gave the qamis, he put on the qamis, and he gave the izar to his servant, or the opposite. So this guy told him that, why are you doing that? It would have looked much better if you put it on you completely. He said, because I have heard Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as saying, إخوانكم خوالكم فمن كان أخوه تحت يده. Then he quoted the hadith which he answered earlier. And he limited the only source of slavery to wars. Other than that, no markets for selling and buying or capturing people and selling them, and so on. If one embraced his slave woman and she conceives, she becomes free. There are many, many resources in which Islam set a very smooth mechanism of eliminating slavery way before the human rights resolution. We all know that slavery was still very widespread, even in America, till last century, of course. And even though it is eliminated by the human rights resolutions, but it is still practiced. And you know how is it practiced? By belittling people, by blackmailing them, by enslaving them. And you all know that a couple years back, there is a terrorist Jewish cell in New Jersey of about 4 to 5 rabbis, I do not really remember exactly, who happened to be arrested for human trafficking. They sell the human bodies of the poor people, the Palestinians. These guys are Americans and Jewish rabbis. You can type it and Google it, and you'll know all the details about it. Some of the African poor people who try to smuggle themselves or sneak into Israel looking for a better life quality, when these guys get shot, they steal their body organs. This is another form of, the worst form of slavery. But alhamdulillah wa shukrulillah, we're very, very proud of our deen. We are the most honored people to be believers in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be selected by Allah to have the last revelation, the Quran. لا يأتيه الباطل من بين يديه ولا من خلفه. The most perfect word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was sent down to this ummah to bring peace to humanity at large, not just to Muslims. Okay? I apologize for all the callers who I missed their calls because I had to cover the answer of this very important question. Abdullah from Nigeria is asking about if he has more than one wife, should he divide his intimacy with his wives equally as well? If you mean with intimacy love and compassion, then no one can do that, not even Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith, Allahumma hada qasmi fima amlik. Oh Allah, he treated his co-wives, his wives, he treated them all equally. The physical treatment, the spending, even if he was traveling, he would draw lots, would take this one this time and the other one next time and so on. But as far as love, it's not up to you, this is in the heart. Sometimes you love one of your children more than the rest. But what counts is how do you treat them all. You should not give one extra more than the other, or deprive one from his rights because you do not like him or you don't like her. So with regards to treating the co-wives, or if one has more than one wife, he should treat them equally with regards to the physical part, and with regards to the time spending, with regards to the financial spending as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to what's best and teach us what we don't know and help us to act upon what we have learned. I highly urge you, brothers and sisters, to include your Syrian brothers and sisters in your dua in every single prayer, because of the disgrace of the United Nations or the international community who fail to support them by a word. We don't want their support. We rely totally on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and wallahi I'm very, very optimistic. I believe that Allah is telling us that you should not ask for help but from me. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them victory. May Allah defeat the perpetrators and the enemy. May Allah kill Bashar al-Assad and his allies today. Allahumma ameen. Allahumma ameen. قولوا قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test.
Huda, a light in every home.
Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والعاقبة للمتقين، ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأولين والآخرين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Brothers and sisters, welcome to another edition of your program Ask Huda. The phone numbers are as usual, area code 002-02-3855, 248 or 249. The email address is ask@huda.tv. We'll be more than happy to start receiving your phone calls and concerns as soon as you call in, inshallah. The first question we have today, inshallah, from your valuable email questions is from Benish Abbasi. She asked about a situation of divorce happened between her and her husband. She says, my husband divorced me over the phone. So this is a mas'ala. The divorce took place over the phone. Then several days later, he called me and divorced me again. That's another mas'ala. But it will be relying on the answer of the first mas'ala. Then several days after he called me and divorced me again. Does this count as 3 divorced or 1? The first mas'ala does recover this marriage once again, even if they both agree. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الطلاق مرتان فإمساك بمعروف أو تسريح بإحسان. The divorce, which is raj'i, revocable or reversible, where the person has the right to return his wife to his marriage life within the iddah, the waiting period after he uttered the word of divorce, is only twice. Then فإن طلقها, if he divorces her after the second time, فلا تحل له من بعد حتى تنكح زوجا غيره. Then it will not be permissible for him to marry her, nor for her to live with him, unless if she marries somebody else, that is after her iddah is over, a complete and a valid marriage, with the intention of getting married, not with the intention of legitimizing the first husband to marry her or to remarry her once again, or in this case, this is a condition in which the Prophet ﷺ cursed all the parties who will be involved in it. If a person just marries a woman with the intention of divorcing her, so that she will be permissible for her ex-husband who divorced her 3 times to remarry her once again. This is known as al-muhallal or al-muhallil, and both are cursed by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The wisdom behind giving divorce in Islam over intervals and giving the iddah is to think about it, is to allow yourself to take a chance to review your decision. And that divorce over the phone, or uttering the term of divorce over the phone, count? Is it rendered as effective or not? Yes, it is, as long as the person who has the power of divorce said it to the wife or to her guardian or to anybody else to convey this message to her, then divorce is rendered effective. She said he divorced her once, and we agreed that the divorce is effective and it counts. Then a few days he divorced her once again, same like the first case. Then a few days later he divorced her for the 3rd time. Then this divorce is known as talaqun ba'in. Ba'in means this is irrevocable divorce. He does not have any power to